everybody, welcome to Homebody Eats by Fountain Mortgage. Today we're going to be making a curry that is near and dear to me. It's from back in college, actually. I was super poor for a little while, or college poor, so to speak. I got down to like 60 bucks in my bank account. There's a full article that we're posting alongside here that you can read in the Shawnee Mission Post this week, kind of telling the backstory of this. But basically, it's a very cheap, easy to make curry at home. It's a chicken-based one. It's a yellow curry that has a lot of Indian spices, but they're not anything so foreign to where you couldn't make it at home. I'll start by kind of showing you kind of what we got here. Is if you want to pull in here, I can show first off what our spices are that we're working with. So I've got them all laid out here. First off, we have some rice here that I've made, and it's just kind of sitting there, kind of steaming for when our staff enjoys it later. And within that rice, that yellow rice, we have some turmeric that we've added into the water before we got it boiling. We have some saffron, and then we've also got some cloves. So those just sit in there and they actually boil with it, and then they impart their flavors. So these two are not going to go into our curry dish, but they're there for just kind of visual sake. So if you want to make this rice alongside here, it's great to eat. So the other things that we're putting into this dish, these are cumin seeds. You can also use ground cumin if you want, but these are actually like way better in terms of just imparting flavor into the dish. They're going to put flavor into the oil, so it'll actually be really, really tasty. Because of that, we also have some red chili powder over here, just to give it a little bit of heat just in the background. Obviously, we have our black pepper here, and then we also have ground coriander. So without further ado, we'll kind of just go ahead and get started here. Okay, so ingredients for today's recipe. First off, we've got some tomatoes that we're gonna be throwing in. We've got some green chilies. These are just canned. You do not need to use fresh ones. We have some white onions. You can also use yellow if you need, just thinly diced though, like that. The canned garlic, but I totally use that. I use minced garlic all the time. I totally cheat, and you're fine doing that. Don't listen to anybody who says you can't. This is half water and half plain yogurt. So this is a cup and a half of each. You want the boring yogurt, you want the stuff that isn't, it's not gonna be flavored with anything else. And then we want some canned potatoes also. This cuts the cook time down. We also, over here, we have some chicken thighs. Use chicken thighs for more flavor. You can also use chicken breasts in a pinch if you need. And then over here, we have some ginger that we're gonna be throwing in as well. Okay, so for getting started, we're gonna add a little bit of oil into our pan, just kind of over like a medium-low heat. Right now, I'm using a sunflower oil. We'll just kind of move it around our pan a little bit. And then what we wanna do is just immediately add our onions into the mix. And we'll just kind of stir these around a little bit. We don't wanna take them all the way down yet. We just kind of wanna sweat them. I'm using a wok today. You can use a flat pan though, and it totally works out just fine. The wok, the hottest part is gonna be down here in the middle. So we're gonna move it around maybe a little bit more than you would in like a flat pan. Just use your eyeballs, essentially. It's really, really flexible. This dish is really forgiving also, so if you screw anything up, we can kind of fix it. Okay, next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna actually add in our cumin seeds. So we use about 2 to 3 tablespoons of them, or sorry, two to 3 teaspoons of them. So a tablespoon or less. A tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. We're gonna add just a tiny bit more oil into the pan, and we'll start working these guys around while these onions are cooking down. If you're here, it smells really lovely because those seeds are releasing a lot of their oil back into the pan. So this is one of the tricks for any really good Indian dish is to roast your spices in the pan if you can. We're using some ground elements today, but you don't necessarily need to. Like the coriander we're using today, you can use coriander seeds if you wanted. So the next little trick here is you just add a little bit of salt into the mix. What does this do? The salt is actually gonna help the onions cook a little bit faster. You can do it a little bit earlier too if you want. I don't oversalt this dish though, so at the back end of it is really when we're gonna be adding more of our salt. We want to bring the flavors forward. So a lot of those flavors are already there. It's just the salt is going to help to accentuate those and bring them to the front of our palate. We're going to add in our green chilies. We're just going to work them around a little bit. Okay, so a quick note on our spices that we were using earlier. These can be added directly into the pan if you want. You just have to be really careful because they're powdered. But what I typically do on this dish is I'll just actually throw them directly into my yogurt mix. So Just kind of spoon some of this in. Again, these are rough amounts too. It's like you're really not gonna go wrong, you know, changing these up a little bit. If you want it spicier, you can add your chili powder in to make it a little bit spicier. We'll just adjust this a little bit. We'll stir that. You can see how we're kind of starting to sweat these out. They're losing their shape a little bit, and they've released some of their water content. That's the salt doing its work, and then also the heat of the pan. We're gonna keep just adding our spice mixture into here, and we'll keep stirring it as we go. So the next thing we're gonna add in is our chicken. We don't wanna cook the chicken all the way through. The chicken is just going to be kind of seared on the sides. It'll cook the rest of the way when we go and simmer it. So we'll go, you know, like 3-4 minutes, something like that. Next thing we're going to do is just add in our garlic. Just add in our tomatoes. So we want to give these an opportunity to kind of cook down a little bit into the dish. Let them kind of work around in there. We have added our tomatoes, and you can see that they're starting to reduce down here in the pan. Those are going to continue to, or they've started to break down in the pan rather. So that's going to continue to happen as we cook this. We want to thicken it out just a little bit with these potatoes though. We're going to add our canned potatoes in here. The starches are going to help to kind of thicken out our sauce as we go. So we actually don't really need to cook these a whole lot, which is why I like using canned ones, is because it kind of shortcuts that a little bit. The next thing we're gonna do is just try to take our yogurt base and do the exact same thing. And it's gonna mix with some of the other juices and stuff that are already in there from, you know, what we were already working with, like the tomatoes and the chicken and all that, and the potatoes. So our goal is to get this up to a simmer, and then we're gonna let it go for a little while. So maybe about 10 minutes. We're looking for it to be able to kind of coat the back of a spoon to where it, you know, it's not dripping like that, but it's kind of oozing down, so to speak. So that's when you know it's starting to look good. And then from there, the last step is going to be salting. This is kind of what you're wanting as an end result. You can go a little bit thicker too if you want. It doesn't really matter. You know, we want it to just not be super watery is essentially what it is. So again, you're going to wait until the very end to salt. I've added a little bit of salt in, and then I've dumped some out onto a spoon and tasted it. That's the way you're gonna go until you're done with this dish. It's perfect. It's right where we want it. All the flavors have come forward because of the salt. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna actually just, we'll dish it up here. All right, so the little rice base there that we have. Mine is cooled. Yours, when it's fresh, is gonna be really hot and workable. So all we're gonna do is just kind of spoon our curry onto here. We don't need a tremendous amount to be very full at the end of this. So that's kind of what you're looking for right there. You can add some garam masala, however you pronounce it. You can add that on. You can add a little curry powder if you want. All the flavors are already there though. So you know, this is gonna be a family dish that you can use at your table. It's really cheap, really easy. I hope you enjoy it. And we'll see you on the next Homebody Eats video.